They say life flashes before your eyes. Mine just got shredded into a million fractured seconds. One moment, the stale, recycled air of the subway tunnel, the rhythmic clang of the tracks, the numb, anonymous hum of the daily grind. My head was buried in a Q3 projections memo, a testament to the suffocating normalcy I'd built. The next, silence. A deep, absolute vacuum of sound that swallowed the city's roar, only to be violently displaced by the deafening concussion. An explosion. Car 3, 2 carriages ahead, disintegrated into a firestorm of twisted metal and raw human terror. The force threw me against the vibrating wall, knocking the breath from my lungs. Now, the scent of burnt ozone and something sickeningly metallic, sickly sweet, chokes the air. My ears are a cacophony of ringing static. My throat is raw, scraped clean by a scream I didn't even know I made. People are screaming. Not the panicked, oh my god hysteria, but the deep, guttural wails of the damned, echoing through the smoke and debris. I'm scrambling over mangled seats, over unidentifiable fragments. No, not fragments. Pieces of people. A woman's designer handbag, impossibly pristine, lies next to a severed limb. My stomach churns, threatening to give up everything. My heart is a frantic drum solo against my ribs, a desperate Morse code for get out, get out, get out. I'm not a hero. I'm not even a particularly brave man. But through the flickering, emergency-lit gloom, I saw him. A shadow moving with predatory grace, too fast, too efficient. He slipped a small, metallic object, no bigger than a thumb drive, into a survivor's pocket before vanishing into the billowing smoke. This wasn't just chaos. This was calculated. And now I've seen it. I've become an unwilling, inconvenient witness. The safe, predictable world I inhabited, the one where quarterly reports were my biggest concern, just died. And I have a terrifying feeling I'm next on its list. Arthur Vance, a creature of pure, unbridled ambition, orchestrates his empire from a precipice of glass and steel. His voice, a clipped, rapid-fire assault, barks orders into one phone while another vibrates relentlessly with a blocked number. A persistent ghost he effortlessly dismisses. The high-stakes world flashes around him. Stock tickers bleeding red, news headlines screaming of market volatility, and a subordinate quivering under his scathing gaze. He's a shark in tailored silk, circling the kill, but now, a primal frustration gnaws at him. An interminable hold line, filled with the saccharine strains of elevator music. He paces, a caged predator, oblivious to the subtle hum of dread beginning to seep into the sterile air of his opulent penthouse. The prelude to a horror he cannot evade. Then a click. The insipid music vanishes, replaced by a voice so impossibly smooth, so unnervingly calm. It feels less like a person and more like an algorithm perfected in some shadowed lab. Arthur Vance? It purrs, a velvet whisper slicing through the tense silence. Alistair Kane from Eternal Plan Services. We understand you're experiencing a minor inconvenience with a certain critical transaction, perhaps involving a particularly obstinate client and a rather urgent wire transfer. Arthur freezes, his annoyance momentarily eclipsed by a prickle of unease. The voice holds an almost jovial familiarity with his immediate, deeply personal frustrations, far beyond the scope of any normal customer service interaction. His grip on the phone tightens, a nascent chill snaking down his spine. Kane's voice, a silken serpent, unwinds further. It's time for your annual review, Mr. Vance, and, of course, your eternal plan renewal. He speaks of life choices and moral allocations with chilling casualness, peppering his speech with unsettlingly specific details. The offshore accounts, the conveniently misplaced documents, the desperate plea from a former employee that Arthur so ruthlessly crushed just last week. It's not a scam. It's something far more sinister. A cold dread settles deep in Arthur's gut. This isn't just about his plan. It's about his soul, laid bare, dissected by an entity that knows every dark corner of his existence. His carefully constructed facade of control begins to crack, revealing a tremor of genuine fear beneath. This is it. A sick joke, a sophisticated hack. Arthur's jaw clenches, a flicker of his characteristic rage returning. He snaps the phone away from his ear, jamming his thumb down hard on the end call button. Once, twice. A frantic flurry of desperate taps. Nothing. The screen, usually a kaleidoscope of apps, is now frozen, displaying only one stark, horrifying phrase, awaiting response. He tries to rip the battery out, but his fingers slide uselessly over the smooth casing. He pulls, he twists, he even slams it against his desk, a primal roar tearing from his throat. But the device remains impossibly, agonizingly fused to his hand, an extension of his own flesh. Panic, raw and unadulterated, now seizes him completely. As Arthur struggles, the very fabric of his penthouse office begins to unravel. The panoramic glass walls, once a symbol of his towering dominion, ripple like disturbed water, stretching and morphing into endless, identical cubicle partitions, their surfaces a dull, infernal crimson. The sleek, polished floor buckles and cracks, revealing a grimy, industrial grating that extends into a suffocating, blood-red abyss. The crisp hum of air conditioning twists into a cacophony of distant, muffled screams and the incessant, droning static of countless bureaucratic processes. Arthur stumbles backward, his mind reeling, as the opulent cage of his power transmutes into a monstrous, infinite purgatory, a terrifying, claustrophobic expanse that screams of eternal servitude. His world has been devoured. He stumbles, disoriented, out of the cubicle that was once his office. Before him stretches a vast, desolate waiting room, eerily familiar yet utterly alien. Rows upon rows of figures slump on cold, metallic benches, each clutching a glowing phone identical to his own, their faces etched with a vacant despair that chills Arthur to his bone. Some are vaguely recognizable rival lawyers, a dismissed judge, an intern he'd crushed, while others are grotesque, their features stretched in silent, unending agony. The air hangs heavy with the metallic tang of regret and the faint, endless hum of the awaiting response signal. Arthur is not alone in this hell. He is merely another number in an infinite queue, witnessing the silent, horrifying truth of eternal customer service. Kane's voice, still unervingly calm, cuts through the drone of the waiting room. Welcome, Mr. Vance, to the Eternal Plan Services Afterlife Customer Hub. As you can see, you're not the first, nor will you be the last, to require our comprehensive package. He explains that Arthur is not dead, but merely in a state of prejudgmental review, due for his eternal plan renewal. He calmly articulates the terms and conditions for Arthur's very soul, a bureaucratic contract meticulously crafted from every moral transgression, every broken promise, every cruel decision Arthur had ever made. Kane lists them like line items on an invoice, each word a hammer blow to Arthur's fading sense of self, revealing an intricate, horrifying blueprint of his own damnation. Then, a chilling transformation. The sterile waiting room melts away, replaced by a bleak, desolate landscape. Around Arthur erupts the crumbling, derelict shell of St. Jude's orphanage, the very one he had ruthlessly acquired and demolished for a luxury real estate development. Spectral, translucent children, their faces thin and pleading, drift through the rubble, their silent cries echoing in Arthur's mind. Kane's voice, now colder, more precise, overlays the vision. Exhibit A. Mr. Vance. The St. Jude's Orphanage Scandal. Estimated human cost, 147 displaced souls, 12 documented fatalities within 3 years post-displacement. Monetary gain, $4.2 billion. Contractual violation. Extreme disregard for human welfare, Article 7, subsection B. Arthur stumbles backward, his mind collapsing under the weight of his past, now made horrifically manifest. A chill wind, not of this world, whispers through the cubicle maze as Arthur, his voice raw, makes his desperate plea. He throws everything he has at Kane, fortunes, influence, the very souls of those he's wronged. Money, services, anything, just get me out of here. His words echo with the hollow desperation of a man who's always bought his way out, now facing an immovable force. Cain, a dark, patient silhouette, merely tilts his head, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. He gestures to an unseen, omnipresent ledger, a vast, invisible contract. "Ah, Mr. Vance." Cain's voice is a low, melodious hum, utterly devoid of malice, yet infinitely more terrifying than any threat. "The system, you see, is quite robust. Your current package, including the Eternity Clause, was activated upon your arrival. There are no upgrades, no downgrades. The terms and conditions, meticulously laid out, are immutable." Arthur's offers of earthly power crumble into dust, revealing the terrifying finality of his predicament. The air thickens with a sickening, metallic tang as a low, guttural growl echoes through the desolate office. Behind Arthur, a monstrosity begins to emerge from the shadows, a gargantuan, pulsating golden safe, its surface grotesque with veins and sinews, clawed tendrils slowly unfurling from its sides. This is no ordinary safe. It's the physical manifestation of Arthur's unbridled avarice, his insatiable greed made flesh. It lurches forward, heavy and relentless, its golden sheen reflecting the distorted light of the infernal office like a mocking beacon. Arthur scrambles, heart hammering against his ribs, weaving through the impossibly twisting cubicle maze. Walls that were once straight now contort and shift, forming a suffocating labyrinth. Every turn is a dead end, every corridor a trap, as the grotesque golden safe, an embodiment of his own ruin, slowly, inexorably, closes in. Stumbling through a hidden archway, Arthur is thrust into the heart of Hell's bureaucracy. The data core, an impossibly vast server room, stretches into the darkness, lit by the pulsing glow of countless screens, each flickering with damning records of human lives. He stares, mesmerized and horrified, at a chaotic mosaic of images. Snippets of his own cold pronouncements, faces of the people he crushed, the ruined lives left in his wake. But it's not just his past. Flashes of other damned souls, strangers, appear, their vices, their betrayals, their petty cruelties. The sheer volume of sin, meticulously catalogued, is overwhelming. It's a tapestry woven from the dark threads of humanity, and Arthur is a prominent, festering stitch within it. The air hums with the electric current of judgment, a chilling symphony of eternal condemnation, and Arthur feels a growing, suffocating dread as he recognizes faces, names, and the indelible stain of his own deeds. Cain materializes beside Arthur, a spectral guide through the digital damnation. He gestures to the swirling data, his voice a calm, philosophical balm that only deepens Arthur's despair. Every choice, Mr. Vance, is meticulously recorded. Every slight, every betrayal, every calculated move. There are no accidents here, only consequences. You built this. Piece by agonizing piece you engineered your own descent. The free will you so prized? It was merely the architect of your own inescapable fate. He points to a screen highlighting Arthur's most callous decisions, lines of code manifesting as vivid flashbacks. Arthur, trapped, can only watch, the weight of his actions crushing him, stripping away every last shred of self-justification. This isn't external judgment. It's a mirror reflecting the architect of his own suffering. Cain's words aren't a threat, but a statement of irrefutable fact, a cosmic accountant detailing every debit of Arthur's soul. The data core shifts, transforming into a stark, anachronistic courtroom. The screens now display a single, accusing image, and from it, a spectral figure coalesces. Alistair, Arthur's former business partner, now a translucent, ghostly apparition. Alistair's voice, amplified and echoing, is laced with the raw pain of betrayal. He promised partnership, built on trust. He offered loyalty, then devoured it whole. He left me with nothing, watching my life unravel. Cain, standing in the silent jury box, acts as a malevolent chorus, his voice weaving through Alistair's testimony, highlighting every lie, every manipulation, every moment of Arthur's ruthless climb. Arthur shrinks under the weight of the accusation, the ghostly image of his victim's agony a physical blow. The air grows cold, heavy with guilt and the irrefutable evidence of a past he desperately tried to bury, now rising from the grave to condemn him. The weight of his past, the unbearable truth, shatters Arthur. He lets out a guttural cry, a primal sound of despair and desperation, and bolts. Through impossibly twisting corridors, he runs, fueled by a surge of pure, unadulterated terror. The infernal office seems alive, malicious. Walls ripple and shift, doors materialize only to vanish the moment he reaches for them, replaced by solid, unyielding surfaces. The air thickens, growing heavy with oppressive heat, carrying the faint, unmistakable scent of sulfur. Each frantic turn leads deeper into the labyrinth, further from any semblance of escape. Panic threatens to consume him, his breath ragged, burning in his lungs. He's no longer running from a philosophical trap, but from physical, palpable damnation, the very architecture of hell conspiring against his desperate flight, a cruel, mocking game of cat and mouse. As Arthur stumbles, a new, more immediate terror materializes from the shifting walls. Hulking, grotesque security guards, demonic entities trapped in ill-fitting, grimy corporate suits, step into existence. Their eyes glow with malevolent, internal light, their movements stiff, almost robotic, yet terrifyingly efficient. Each heavy, deliberate step thuds against the floor, a relentless rhythm of pursuit. These aren't just figures. They are the embodiment of hell's merciless enforcement, designed to quell any flicker of hope, any thought of rebellion. Arthur glances back, adrenaline surging, only to see their numbers multiplying, their grotesque faces fixed on him with cold, calculating intent. He pushes harder, a desperate gasp escaping his lips, knowing that to be caught by these infernal enforcers means a fate far worse than simply being returned to Kane's office. The scent of ozone and sulfur intensifies, chilling him to the bone. Desperate, Arthur collapses against a counter, his eyes falling upon a flickering neon sign, "Help Desk." A sliver of irrational hope ignites within him. He bangs on the counter, gasping for air. Behind it, a figure slowly rises, a skeletal, desiccated clerk, whose skin is stretched taut over bone, eyes like hollowed-out coals, a thin, cruel smile cracking its parched lips. "How may I assist you?" the clerk rasps, its voice like dry leaves scraping pavement. Arthur pleads for an exit, for mercy, for any way out. The clerk taps a bony finger on a screen, revealing not a solution, but a horrifying new data stream. A meticulously detailed account of every single person Arthur ever denied help to, every plea ignored, every instance of his self-serving indifference. The help is a psychological torment, twisting his fragile hope into an agony of his own making, his own past mocking his pleas for salvation. Arthur's fury ignited, a final, desperate gasp of his old self. He demanded an appeal, a supervisor, a way out of this bureaucratic nightmare. But Kane merely smiled, a predatory gleam in his eyes, and with a flick of his wrist, the sterile office dissolved. Arthur stumbled into an echoing, cavernous expanse, an infinite vista of muted gray and skeletal light. Before him stretched endless, unmoving queues, populated by silent, spectral figures, gaunt, hollow-eyed souls, frozen in perpetual waiting. This was the appeals department, a chilling tableau of ultimate futility. Arthur's breath hitched, his protests dying on his lips. This wasn't a delay, it was a sentence. His legal mind, once so sharp, now comprehended the horror. There was no recourse, no higher authority, only an eternity of spectral, silent resignation. Kane's voice, now a chilling whisper, cut through the suffocating silence. He spoke of a blocked number. The frantic calls Arthur had so casually dismissed, calls from a former employee, Mark, driven to the precipice by Arthur's machinations. The lawyer's blood ran cold. Then, an insidious sound began, seeping from the very walls, echoing from the spectral cues. a low, tormented whisper, rising and falling with an unbearable rhythm. It was Mark's voice, a ghostly lament, full of despair and the echo of a final, desperate plea. It wasn't a memory. It was a living, breathing torment, twisting Arthur's insides, a constant, inescapable reminder of the life he had shattered, now haunting his every waking moment in this infernal office. The air grew heavy with a spectral weight. The torment intensified. With a flourish, Cain conjured a new reality. The office floor warped, solidifying into a grotesque, shifting labyrinth, a physical gauntlet born of Arthur's sins. Each obstacle wasn't merely a barrier but a brutal manifestation of his greed, his deceit, his callous disregard for others. Twisted metal claws representing corporate treachery reached out. Pools of shimmering, toxic liquid symbolized manipulated markets, and shadowy figures, faceless but familiar, blocked his path. To pass, Cain purred. You must confront and redeem the essence of these actions. Arthur stared, breath rasping, a sudden primal fear gripping him. This was no abstract courtroom. This was direct, visceral consequence, where his past choices would now physically tear at his flesh, or demand a price beyond his comprehension. Mid-gauntlet, battered and bleeding, Arthur stumbled, nearly succumbing to the crushing weight of his past. Then, a sudden, ethereal light pierced the gloom. A mirage materialized before him. A vivid, golden memory. It wasn't a courtroom victory or a deal closed, but a long-forgotten moment. A younger, less jaded Arthur, genuinely helping an elderly woman across a busy street. His smile unforced, his act selfless. Hope, a sensation he hadn't felt in decades, surged through him, a searing, blinding warmth. This was it, he thought desperately, his out. A single, untainted shard of decency. He reached for it, convinced that this forgotten act of kindness, this solitary flicker of light, might somehow absolve him, a loophole in this infernal contract. But Cain's laughter shattered the fragile illusion, a sound like glass breaking. The golden light flickered, then violently imploded. Foolish mortal, Cain sneered. Your good deed? That old woman was a key witness you silenced before a crucial trial. Or perhaps it was merely a cynical photo-op, a calculated move to sway public opinion for a tax break. The words struck Arthur like a physical blow. The gauntlet roared back to life, the obstacles transforming, now explicitly embodying the true, dark motivations behind even his kindest acts. The tendrils of corporate treachery gained sharper, more personal barbs. The toxic pools churned with the faces of those he'd exploited. His last, desperate hope was crushed, leaving only the undeniable, inescapable horror of his true nature. As the gauntlet faded, a spectral corporate boardroom materialized around Arthur. The air crackled with cold ambition and a chilling premonition. He stood, an invisible observer, as a younger version of himself, arrogant, hungry, eyes blazing with ruthless ambition, sat across a polished obsidian table. Facing him was a shadowy, unidentifiable figure, its features obscured by a swirling vortex of darkness, yet emanating an undeniable, ancient power. With a handshake that resonated through the ethereal chamber, young Arthur sealed a Faustian bargain, trading his integrity for unimaginable power and wealth. Cain's voice, now grave and resonant, echoed through the void. This was the original contract, Arthur. The first, foundational transaction. Every subsequent action, every choice, merely a clause fulfilled. All appeals exhausted, all loopholes sealed shut, Arthur found himself back where it all began. His stark, metallic cubicle, but now the air thrummed with absolute finality. Cain materialized before him, no longer playing games. He held a glowing, ethereal tablet, its script shifting and burning with infernal light. The renewal options, Cain stated, his voice devoid of warmth, are simple, Arthur. Eternal damnation, as we've meticulously detailed, or, he paused, letting the implication hang, thick and suffocating. Or you can choose a proxy, a sacrifice. Arthur's blood ran cold. The ultimate price was not just his own soul, but the chance to condemn another. The weight of this choice was unbearable, an abyss opening beneath his feet, offering a twisted, horrifying escape. As if summoned by the very thought, a holographic image shimmered into existence between Arthur and Cain. It was Sarah, his loyal, naive assistant. Her image radiated a pure, innocent warmth, her eyes wide and trusting, a gentle smile playing on her lips. She looked exactly as she did when she'd innocently brought him his coffee, oblivious to the infernal machinations she now unknowingly played a part in. Cain's voice, now a viper's hiss, underscored her purity. Such a pristine soul, Arthur, uncorrupted, untouched by the world's ugliness, unlike yours. The contrast was brutal, a weaponized innocence designed to tear Arthur apart. His gaze flickered between Sarah's radiant image and Cain's predatory smile. The choice, already hellish, had just become an unimaginable torture. A chilling quiet descends, thicker than the dust motes dancing in Arthur's opulent penthouse. Cain's words are not shouted, but whispered, each syllable a precisely aimed dart. Sarah's family, Arthur, ruined, broken, by the very stock manipulation you engineered to secure your empire. The air crackles with the unspoken accusation, the terrible truth of it. Her innocence isn't a virtue. It's a consequence, a vulnerability forged in the crucible of his own avarice. The choice before him is no longer a simple moral binary, but a horrifying reflection. To condemn her is not merely a selfish act of self-preservation. It is to perpetuate the very evil that birthed her plight, to double down on the destruction he already wrought. The realization slams into Arthur like a physical blow, stripping the air from his lungs. This isn't just about him anymore. It's about the ripple effect of his damnation, a lineage of suffering stretching into infinity. Then something shifts. A spark ignites in the deepest recess of Arthur's soul, a defiant ember refusing to be extinguished. His jaw tightens, muscles clenching, and a tremor runs through him. Not of fear, but of a desperate, newfound strength. No, he rasps, the word low, guttural, yet ringing with an unexpected conviction that silences the very air. His head snaps up, eyes now burning with a fierce, almost suicidal resolve. I will not condemn her. She is innocent, and she will remain so. He takes a step forward, a sudden surge of adrenaline stealing his frame. This is my damnation, Cain. My consequences. I'll take them. All of them. Just leave her out of it. It's an impossible stand, an act of pure, unadulterated rebellion against an insurmountable power, and for a fleeting moment, the very fabric of his personal hell seems to shudder. Cain pauses, an eternity held in the beat of a single infernal heart. A slow, unsettling smile spreads across the shadowed expanse of his face, a predatory amusement sparking in his eyes. Intriguing, he purrs, the words slithering through the silence. Such unexpected conviction. He gestures, a languid sweep of an unseen hand, and the very air in the penthouse office twists, distorts. Very well. A special clause for such exceptional defiance. The opulent furnishings begin to warp, melt, their grandeur replaced by sterile, cubicle-like outlines forming in the periphery. You will avoid the full, traditional damnation, Arthur, but your penance will be instructive. You will spend eternity in customer support, serving the newly damned, listening to their endless tales of woe, their suffering, experiencing it firsthand. An eternity of true empathy. The line, Arthur, is always open. The true horror, the mundane, soul-crushing terror, begins to dawn. The transition is seamless, absolute. One moment, the fading grandeur of his penthouse. The next, the stark, unforgiving reality of an infinite cubicle farm. Arthur, now clad in a drab, ill-fitting customer service uniform, a cheap, gray polo shirt and shapeless trousers, slumps in a flimsy office chair. The air hums with the low thrum of cheap fluorescent lights and the distant, muffled wails of unseen callers. His name tag reads, Arthur, Damnation Assistant. His hands, once accustomed to expensive leather and polished mahogany, trembles slightly as he stares at the beige, plastic phone on his desk. The ring pierces the oppressive silence, a jarring, insistent sound. He answers, his voice hollow, resigned, utterly defeated. "Thank you for calling. Damnation Support. How may I assist you today?" On the other end, a desperate voice begins. Its words a raw, unfiltered shriek of eternal torment. Miles away, across worlds, across realms of suffering and salvation, Sarah walks. The sunlight on her face is real, warm, caressing. She's moving through a bustling, vibrant city street, a casual ease in her step, oblivious to the cosmic drama that unfolded for her sake. She pulls out her phone, a momentary distraction, a small, unremarkable device. Her brow furrows just slightly, a fleeting frown of confusion as she sees a missed call, a blocked number, oddly persistent over the last few minutes. She shrugs, a simple, unconscious gesture, dismissing the digital phantom. Her life, untainted, unburdened, continues forward, vibrant and free. The world keeps turning, oblivious to the lawyer in a purgatorial cubicle, forever answering calls, a forgotten ripple of consequence, a quiet testament to a desperate, last-second act of grace. The abandoned warehouse was a mausoleum of broken promises, its air thick with the metallic tang of old rust and impending doom. Each ragged breath echoed, amplified by the furious drumbeat of my own heart. He was there waiting, the architect, not just a man, but the chilling embodiment of the shadow that had swallowed my life. He held it, the innocuous flash drive I'd clawed my way through hell to retrieve. "You really thought you could stop this?" His voice, smooth as polished glass, sharp as a scalpel, cut through the tension. "You're just a variable easily erased." But I wasn't the same man who cowered in that subway car. The terror had forged something new, unbreakable, inside me. My gaze flickered to the structural beam, where a crude digital timer glowed malevolent red. 2 minutes, for the irreversible deletion of every shred of evidence. He had his gun, dark, trained on my chest. I had a choice. Fight, secure the data, expose the truth, and almost certainly die. Or run, live a ghost of a life, and let the world burn. My fingers tightened around the jagged rebar I'd salvaged. Maybe, I rasped, but some variables, they fight back. The ensuing seconds were a blur of desperate, visceral violence. Every punch, every grunt, every gasping struggle for air was a defiant scream against the darkness. He thought he knew me, but the man who emerged from that subway, caked in dust and blood, wasn't just a survivor. He was a sharpened instrument. As the timer blinked its final, defiant 0, with the data confirmed secure and the entire structure groaning around us, I knew one truth. Some secrets don't stay buried, and some men, once shattered, can never truly be put back together again. The world might be safe, but I was irrevocably broken.